Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got soccer boots as your next summertime sneaker, famous directors rocking sneakers at the Met Gala, Shaq and AI becoming Netflix stars, the week's hottest releases, and of course, we have our Hard Pass. All right, let's start the show with some hot takes. Boots only, summer is here, and I don't get it. For those who are blissfully unaware of this trend, I'm about to ruin your lives. Or enlighten it, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. Let's find out together. Apparently, there is a new TikTok trend where UK kids are ironically or unironically wearing football boots outside of the pitch. Like with the studs and everything. And now it's a hit stateside and has been co-signed by Spanish singer Rosalia, who wore a new pair of New Balance boots before she attended the Met Gala. Now, to be fair, this seems to be limited to just kids and influencers wearing the boots to go along with their fits that look definitively early 2000s. But now that more people are seeing the videos, I wonder if we're actually going to see these out in public. Is it not only a matter of time before we hear the clickety-clack of boots on surfaces that were not meant to be used in? I mean, Adidas is already planning to release an F50 boot with clear casing that makes them usable on regular surfaces later this year. Are our summertime cookouts going to be filled with Mercurials and F50 Messas and Puma Futures and other boots that I obviously know by heart and didn't just Google a few minutes ago? Like, this is what an organic movement looks like, because there's no way in hell a brand would ever think to themselves, hey, you know what would be a real good idea? Let's get Sir Lewis Hamilton in some Puma boots at the Met Gala. And even if they did, they would get laughed out of the meeting. Wow. Huh. Here I am going from thinking this trend was silly to liking it, maybe even participating in it, to thinking this is a cool opportunity. Full circle there, guys. Maybe this is something we should talk about on this week's episode of the Too Hard to Pass podcast. Check it out on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. And speaking of the Met Gala and Sir Lewis Hamilton, he was one of the co-chairs of this year's installment, along with A$AP Rocky, Pharrell Williams, and Coleman Domingo. LeBron James was actually an honorary chair, but because of his injury that we did not know about until after my 17-time world champion and one-time NBA Cup champion Los Angeles Lakers were eliminated from the playoffs, were not able to attend. Sure. Anyways, with the focus on menswear and tailored outfits inspired by Black dandyism from the 18th century to modern times, you would think there wouldn't be space for sneakers. But you would be wrong, because not only did Spike Lee let us know that he's Jumpman no matter the time or place in the Air Jordan 3 Black Hat, but George Lucas showed out in black Nike Flex Experience RN7s, retail price $60. Yeah, something tells me George would not have lasted 5 seconds in the Wells Bonner Manolo Blahnik opera boots that Sir Lewis wore. Hell, if I had to attend the Met Gala with my queen like George did, I would be scouring my closet to find the most comfortable black runners that I could find, because everybody would be taking pictures of her, and I would just need to be comfortable. You know, it wouldn't be black Air Force Ones, because I'm not at the Met Gala to fight. Come on, guys. Gotta be better than that. Anyway, moving on. The Nike A1. It's here. And what do you know? It was a rousing success. The debut pink Oro colorway sold out in 5 minutes online, and Asia Wilson declared that it would get a wider drop in a few days. They still sold briskly. I'm sure you can still find a pair with some patience, and even if you can't, the Indigo Girl is dropping this week. At 110, the A1 is going to find themselves on a lot of hoopers' feet this summer. The most critical thing is that $110 price tag. If the Trump tariffs actually come to pass, prices on Nikes will climb up. But if the A1s can hold steady at 110 or maybe creep to 120 at most, it will be a big deal for kids and parents who want that signature shoe but will shy away from investing $200 or more for Air Jordans, LeBrons, or Kobe Protros. Now, Shaq. Big Shaquille O'Neal. He's a polarizing figure when it comes to being a pundit on Inside the NBA. Some would say his antics on the show are part of his jovial nature as a larger-than-life figure, while others point out his inability to take a joke as a sign of his insecurities. But something that I think we could all agree on, besides his position as one of the most dominant figures in the game of basketball, is his business acumen. And that's why this trailer for a new series on Netflix chronicling his role as president of Reebok Basketball has the potential to be very interesting, or simply a 6-episode commercial for the brand. Will we see the serious side of the big fella as he and Vice President Allen Iverson try to claw their way back to a category that they once thrived in? Looks like Angel Reese is actually going to be featured prominently in this series, as she gets even more screen time than AI in the trailer. But then we also get a peek into what turned out to be a push by Reebok to sign presumptive NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander away from Converse. We all know that turned out to be a losing effort, but how much of the process will they show us? If nothing else, I want to be able to see this side of Shaq so he can prove to not only me, but everybody who criticizes him that when he does something that we all think is foolish and then he hand waves it off and says it's all for the show and that he actually knows what he's doing, it's not just an excuse, most of the time. F1 made their way to Miami this past week, and that means every team had something special cooked up for the trip. Some teams went with special liveries, while others had their team principals do kickflips. Wait, kickflips? What? Yeah, Mercedes big boss Toto Wolff teamed up with Adidas Skateboarding's Tyshawn Jones for a skate video that I didn't know I wanted until right now. They even got Toto to try to do a kickflip. Hey, it's not pretty in practice, but as long as the IG photo in the end looks good, that's all that matters. Man, now I kind of wish Sir Lewis Hamilton had stayed at Mercedes for at least one more year. He could have gotten all sorts of cool promos with Hamilton rocking 3-stripes gear. As it stands, the hierarchy of cool at Mercedes goes Toto, Kimi Antonelli, our king and reserve driver Valtteri Bottas, and that's about it. Who else is at Mercedes? Guess no one knows. Now, I don't know anybody that works at Skechers, but if I did, I would be yelling at them right now to get someone on the marketing team to go create an Anthony Edwards-like campaign for OG Anunoby because he's balling out right now and going viral in his Skechers XKX reign. I mean, that dunk on Jason Tatum? Hang that thing in the Louvre. It's a Renaissance painting, but basketball. And if you thought my fandom for the 17-time world champion and the one-time NBA Cup champion Los Angeles Lakers was annoying, you should be glad this show doesn't support Knicks tape. It's already starting with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. The closer the Knicks get to the finals, the more you're going to wish my Lakers were in there to offer a counterbalance. If Skechers is smart, and judging by the recent sale of the company for $9.42 billion, they are pretty smart over there. They need to lace the presumptive 48th president of the United States of America in some XKX reigns. Laugh at it now, sneakerheads. But again, if these price increases come to pass because of Trump tariffs, Skechers are going to start to look mighty appealing if they raise their prices. At least that's what I would have said until we checked the prices of the XKX reign after we wrote this bit. Turns out they're $185. So yeah, back to the A1s. Last year, as part of Nike's effort to win back the running category, a space they have lost significant ground to thanks to the rise of brands like HOKA, On Running, and Brooks, they are simplifying their lineup to 3 clear brands: Structure for supportive cushioning, Pegasus for reactive cushioning, and Vomero for max cushioning. As we've seen with the Pegasus Premium, each franchise will come with enhanced versions that are called Premium Plus, etc. Which brings us to the Nike Vomero Plus. With its chunkier stack profile that is even higher than the Vomero 18, Nike is doing what they can to win back those who have traded in their invincible runs for HOKA Cliftons, which brings us to a meme that's been circling on the socials. With HOKAs and ONs eating Nike's market share, the best thing to do at the moment was join the competition. And I gotta say, while that's a fun meme that will earn you instant karma on various running subreddits, I don't see the similarities. And if you want to get super granular, there's a lot of people who are way more into the running shoe minutia than I am who would say the Cliftons are remixed Pegasus Turbos. It's all messy, and I hope that the only thing that results from this is better runners for everybody and maybe a cool commercial or two where Nike cleverly pokes fun at HOKA and On. Now, before we move on to the pick of the week, here is a list of things we've gotten in the sneaker world before we've gotten Grand Theft Auto 6. By the time the game will allegedly launch in 2026, it will have been 13 full years since the debut of GTA 5. Of course, we could be doing this dance all over again next year when Rockstar announces a delay to 2027 and beyond, but for now, here's some sneaker history that has come and gone in between the two games. Kanye's entire run with Adidas, Kyrie's entire run with Nike, Paul George's entire Nike signature shoe line. Counting reimagined releases, the Bread Ones have come back 6 times: 2013, 2016, 2025, Flyknit, Satin, and Patent Leather. The grand opening and grand closing of the sneaker NFT grift, thank goodness. Joel Embiid wore the UA Embiid 1 for 3 seasons, and that's still shorter than the gap between the confirmation that GTA 6 was happening and 2026. Reebok Basketball's death and rebirth, which will be hopefully covered in great detail on that Netflix show. Flyknit, PrimeNet, EvoNet, Lakers, and damn it, Anthony Edwards. I can't even make that joke. Steph Curry and James Harden were still at Nike when GTA 5 launched. Speaking of Steph, Nico Harrison went from random footnote as a Nike exec who was at the botched Nike meeting that led to Steph signing with Under Armour to Dallas pariah after he traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers. Deion Sanders came back to Nike before we got GTA 6. Anything is possible if you delay long enough. And also, kinda me. I wasn't a big part of the sneaker world when GTA 5 came out, and now I am. So weird. Pick of the week. Hyperice Nike Hyperboot, May 17th is $8.99. To be clear, we are not endorsing this as a sneaker you should just buy because of hype or whatnot. Don't be one of those hype beasts who will rock these at SneakerCon with zero awareness. Buy these if you are serious about not only your recovery after an intense day, but think about what they can do to warm you up to get ready for the day. This is not a boot for fooling, and I doubt everybody will get the same level of performance that a LeBron James or a Sha'Carri Richardson will, but I am curious to see how these will sell to the public as a serious training tool. Let's move on. It's time for this week's Hard Pass. We'll take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go, like console wars, because finally Microsoft killed it. D-E-D, dead. See, 19 years ago, Gears of War debuted exclusively on the Xbox 360, starring Marcus Phoenix and his band of Space Marine bros doing Space Marine bro things like defeating alien species and government bureaucracy. The third-person shooter developed by Epic Games will go on to become a signature franchise for Xbox, spawning sequels and spin-offs across multiple console generations. The bandana-wearing, chainsaw, gun-wielding, curmudgeon-y Phoenix was as synonymous with Xbox as Halo's Master Chief. Whenever you saw a gear, the name of the soldiers in the game, or the iconic chainsaw gun at Microsoft's Xbox E3 presentation back in the pre-pandemic days, the Xbox faithful roared because they had something that the competition didn't have. It seems like a silly thing to be so invested in a piece of technology or a company when all they did was introduce basically software, but that's what it means to be a fan of Xbox, or a fan of PlayStation, or a fan of Nintendo even. You probably didn't care about this stuff if you owned everything, but if you owned two or just one, maybe you felt the need to defend your choices. Maybe you got into arguments with friends or random people on message boards about which console was more powerful or which had better exclusive games. To that, I would say, just get better friends, but it's in the past now. To borrow wrestling parlance, maybe you worked yourself into a shoot during that time, brother. And while the 90s had Sega versus Nintendo and eventually PlayStation, nobody could foresee the escalation in the 2000s when Xbox entered the fray. The console wars, yes, with a Z because we were edgy back then, was very much playing out online. And man, it was dumb. Now, this is where we have to draw the distinction between Xbox, PlayStation fanboys and gaming enthusiasts, because those are two very different type of gamers. Enthusiasts are solid folk who just love video games, no matter the platform. They build communities online and develop bonds with others that sometimes become real-life friendships. Meanwhile, toxic fanboys send death threats to critics for low review scores and call others homophobic slurs for not having the same opinions or console preferences as them. Enthusiasts might have a preferred console, but they want everybody to be great. Fanboys don't wash their ass. What does that have to do with gaming? Nothing, but it's gross. As co-writer points out every time he attended E3, by the third day, it got rancid at times. Anyways, all of that is over now, hopefully, because Gears of War is coming to PlayStation. Yay! An enhanced version of the first game's Ultimate Edition is dropping in August with 4K resolution and 60 frames per second in single player and up to 120 frames in multiplayer. This announcement follows previous Xbox exclusives that have made their way to PlayStation, including Forza Horizon, Sea of Thieves, and other titles. Some games have even made their way to the Nintendo Switch 1. Fun fact, when Sony listed their most downloaded titles in April, the top 3 were Minecraft, Forza Horizon 5, and the Oblivion Remaster. Those games were either former Xbox exclusives or developed by companies under the Xbox umbrella. Yes, Microsoft has been pushing the everything is an Xbox marketing campaign for several months now, but it didn't feel real until Gears, and now it's only a matter of time until Master Chief makes his inevitable debut on PlayStation. So why is this happening? Because Xbox can no longer afford to keep their games exclusive to just boxes that say Xbox on them. Okay, that's not true. Look, when they spent $11 billion to acquire studios like Bethesda and Activision, the idea was that they would make games exclusive to Xbox with some titles hitting Windows PCs. But With the rising cost of game development and unrealistic sales expectations leading to shutdowns of developers big and small, there's a constant pressure to deliver numbers that lead to infinite shareholder growth. And the only way to do that, it seems, is to make their games available to everyone. Now, on the surface, this seems like a good thing. There will be holdovers who will always cling to their brand of choice, but that will fade over time, or at least only rear its dumbass head occasionally in the comment sections. Xbox and PlayStation fanboys will go the way of Sega and Nintendo fanboys, but hopefully without the sad ending of Sega's days as a console maker. Peace among the gamers will reign, except when there's a Fire Switch 2 exclusives and consoles are hard to come by this holiday season. But on the other side of this desire for infinite growth is greed. And that means price hikes for games and consoles 5 years into a generation. That's never been the case before, but that's the future that we are staring at. We can blame the Trump tariffs for a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, but $600 for an Xbox that costs $500 in 2020 and should be on its second or third price drop by now? Nah, can't pin that on 47. We'll talk about what effects this brave new world that sucks will have on us in a future episode. Probably before GTA 6 drops or when Co-Writer gets his Switch 2, whichever happens first. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys for watching Hard Pass. I am Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week. If you'd like to be possibly featured in a future episode, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message or social media if you want. No more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.